What happens when a Hollywood icon storms off a talk show stage amid controversy? You're about to learn the story behind Brad Pitt's dramatic exit from Jimmy Kimmel Live, a confrontation that stunned the audience and sparked a frenzy on social media. Before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts on Brad Pitt in the comments. Let's get started. The night began like any other episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live. The studio buzzed with excited fans eager for celebrity interviews and Kimmel's signature humor. Brad Pitt, a major star celebrated for his charm and award-winning roles, was the featured guest promoting his latest gritty drama generating Oscar buzz. The producers anticipated Pitt's usual effortless charisma and maybe a few stories from his long career. Kimmel, known for blending jokes with conversation, was ready to play off Pitt's star appeal. The stage was set for a lively segment that could easily go viral. Yet, behind the scenes, tension was already building. Pitt had arrived earlier that day with a small group. Crew members noticed he seemed quieter and more reserved than his typical relaxed self. According to insiders, Pitt was dealing with intense media scrutiny, not just about the film but also his personal life, including ongoing legal issues and tabloid speculation. He was reportedly irritated by questions unrelated to his work. In the pre-show meeting, Pitt made it clear he wanted the focus strictly on the film, its themes, and his role as producer. He requested the team avoid inquiries about his private life, especially regarding family or past relationships. While the crew agreed, some felt uneasy. Kimmel's show thrived on personal banter, and Pitt's firm boundaries didn't fit the usual tone. A producer suggested a light-hearted segment about Pitt's early acting days, which he approved, but the tension lingered. Meanwhile, Kimmel prepared in his dressing room. Although informed of Pitt's wishes to keep things professional, he wasn't overly worried. Having hosted Pitt before, Kimmel knew how to land gentle jokes that got laughs without offense. His plan was to begin with the film and sprinkle in some playful questions about Pitt's Hollywood career. The audience, unaware of any backstage issues, cheered loudly as the show went live. Kimmel opened with his monologue, delivering jokes about current events with his usual energy. The crowd was electric, ready for the star guest. Then the moment arrived. Brad Pitt was introduced. Applause thundered through the studio. Pitt appeared, smiling warmly and waving to fans. For a brief moment, it seemed the earlier tension had eased. He took his seat opposite Kimmel, the cameras rolled, and the interview began. Kimmel started cautiously, asking about the film's intense storyline. Pitt visibly relaxed, sharing the challenges of producing and acting in such a raw project. His passion shone through, captivating the audience who hung on every word. Kimmel smiled and joked about how Pitt made gritty roles look effortless. The crowd chuckled, and Pitt responded with a grin, seeming to go along with the tone. But then Kimmel deviated from the plan. He brought up a recent paparazzi photo of Pitt at a charity event, subtly hinting at dating rumors. Intended as a light tease, it crossed into the personal territory Pitt had clearly asked to avoid. His smile vanished. He leaned forward and spoke calmly but firmly, stating he was there to discuss the movie, not his private life. The audience laughed, thinking it was part of the banter. Kimmel, sensing resistance, pushed further, setting the stage for a tense exchange. The atmosphere tightened as Pitt's firm refusal cut off Kimmel's attempt at personal joking. Quick to recover, Kimmel smiled and steered the conversation back to the film, asking about Pitt's producer role and the difficulties of bringing such a heavy drama to life. Pitt responded, describing long nights spent perfecting the script, but his answers were more measured, lacking the warmth from earlier. The audience remained attentive, sensing the tension beneath the surface but staying engaged. Trying to revive the flow, Kimmel asked about Pitt's collaboration with the director. Then he took another risk, shifting to the pressures of fame. He specifically mentioned a tabloid story about Pitt's recent public appearances and how he handled the intense spotlight. Pitt's mood changed. He cut Kimmel off mid-question, his tone steady yet sharp, reminding him again that he wanted to focus solely on the movie, not his personal life. The audience reacted, some chuckled nervously while others were unsure if the confrontation was scripted. Recognizing the pushback, Kimmel attempted to pivot once more, asking about the film's cast. But Pitt wasn't ready to let the issue go. He leaned forward, addressing Kimmel directly. He said he had come to share his craft, not to fuel gossip or reinforce Hollywood stereotypes. The crowd fell silent, absorbing the seriousness of his words. Producers in the control booth exchanged uneasy glances. They had expected Pitt to go along with Kimmel's style, not openly challenge it. Barely 6 minutes into the segment, it was already veering off course. Kimmel, trying to handle the delicate situation, attempted to lighten the mood. He explained he was just giving fans a glimpse of the man behind the star. But Pitt wasn't convinced. He talked about the years he had spent building a meaningful career, choosing roles that mattered, only to have interviews focus on trivial matters. His tone was calm but firm, and the audience reacted, some applauding in support, others sitting quietly in shock. Meanwhile, social media was already buzzing with clips of their exchange, spreading rapidly. Viewers debated whether Pitt was setting a reasonable boundary or being too defensive. Producers signaled Kimmel through his earpiece to steer the conversation forward, but he was struggling to regain control. Then Kimmel made a misstep. Trying to spark interest, he brought up a rumored feud with a former co-star, suggesting it was an opportunity to clear things up. Though intended as an engaging question, it went against Pitt's request to avoid personal topics. Pitt's expression tightened. Without raising his voice, he spoke clearly, saying he had already set his boundaries and felt disrespected. He told Kimmel that the audience deserved more than recycled rumors. The crowd gasped, some cheering, others whispering in disbelief. Phones came out to capture every moment. In the control booth, producers were thrown into chaos, debating whether to cut to commercial. Kimmel, visibly shaken, tried to laugh it off, saying he didn't mean to pry. But Pitt was done deflecting, and tensions were rising. The atmosphere in the studio was electric as Brad Pitt's pointed accusation left Jimmy Kimmel scrambling for a response. The audience, fully aware of the growing conflict, watched intently, recording every second. Kimmel tried to regain control with a quick apology, saying he hadn't meant to cross a line, and asked Pitt to share more about the film's production. Pitt answered briefly, describing the challenges of juggling acting and producing, but his tone was sharp, his earlier enthusiasm diminished. The audience listened, but the mood had shifted to focus on the underlying tension. Sensing the segment was faltering, Kimmel tried to steer toward a safer topic, asking about Pitt's favorite scene in the movie. Pitt wasn't ready to move on. Mid-answer, he paused and looked at Kimmel, saying he needed to address a recurring pattern. Caught off guard, Kimmel froze. Pitt turned to the audience with a calm but firm voice and said he had come to the show to discuss his work, not to be tabloid fodder. He spoke about the dedication behind his film, the many people involved, and his desire to honor their efforts rather than dodge gossip. The crowd fell silent, then erupted in applause, some moved by his sincerity, others stunned by the moment's raw honesty. Producers in the control booth frantically signaled the director to prepare to cut away. Social media exploded with viral clips of Pitt's remarks, sparking debates about whether he was justified or overreacting. Now on shaky ground, Kimmel responded, saying he admired Pitt's commitment and was only trying to keep the show entertaining. Pitt interrupted, saying fun shouldn't come at the expense of ignoring a guest's boundaries. The audience gasped, some cheered, others continued recording. The blunt accusation shook Kimmel's usual composure. He suggested refocusing on the film, but Pitt was already standing, surprising everyone. He declared he wasn't there to be a punchline for someone else's agenda. The crowd erupted, divided between support and astonishment. Producers shouted into headsets, urging a commercial break, but the cameras kept rolling. Pitt unclipped his microphone with steady movements and addressed the audience one last time, saying they deserved genuine stories, not manufactured drama. Then he walked toward the stage exit. Kimmel, stunned, called after him, suggesting they could stick to discussing the movie, but Pitt didn't look back, disappearing backstage as the director finally cut to commercial. The studio was in turmoil, the audience abuzz with a mix of excitement and disbelief. Backstage, Pitt's team prepared to escort him out. The control booth was in chaos, producers debating how to salvage the remainder of the show. Kimmel sat alone on the set, his confidence shaken as the impact of Pitt's departure sank in. The incident was far from over, and its consequences were about to unfold. The commercial break did little to calm the tense atmosphere in the Jimmy Kimmel Live studio. The audience, still buzzing from Brad Pitt's dramatic walkout, whispered and shared clips on their phones, sparking a social media frenzy. Jimmy Kimmel sat alone on set, the empty chair beside him a stark reminder of the confrontation. Producers in the control booth hurriedly debated how to proceed. Some urged Kimmel to address the incident directly, while others wanted to move on quickly to minimize the fallout. Meanwhile, social media was already alight with Pitt's exit trending worldwide. Some praised his stand for authenticity, others dismissed it as a diva moment. The show's team understood the gravity of the situation, knowing every choice was crucial. When the show resumed, Kimmel faced the audience and acknowledged the tension, explaining that live television can get heated but that's what makes it unpredictable. He avoided mentioning Pitt by name, instead introducing the next guest, a musician booked for a lighter segment. The audience applauded, but their attention was divided, many still posting reactions online. Kimmel continued chatting with the musician, but the segment lacked energy, the earlier spark had vanished. Producers decided to end the show early, cutting a planned comedy bit to wrap things up. It was a practical decision as the night's momentum had faded and the focus shifted to handling the aftermath. Backstage, Pitt was already exiting the studio, his team waiting nearby. He headed to a waiting car. A few crew members lingered, one offering an apology, but Pitt dismissed it, saying he wasn't upset, just tired of being misrepresented. He left without further comment. Paparazzi, alerted by the viral clips, swarmed the studio exit, snapping photos as his car drove away. The images quickly spread across entertainment sites, accompanied by headlines about Pitt's bold departure. Some media outlets applauded his principles, others portrayed him as overly sensitive. Pitt's team remained silent, focusing on promoting his film to redirect attention. Meanwhile, Kimmel's team entered crisis mode. Producers reviewed footage, evaluating the impact on the show's image. Kimmel, known for his relatable style, now faced criticism for pressing personal questions that seemed disrespectful. After the show, the host met with his staff looking visibly shaken. Sources said he believed Pitt had overreacted but admitted he may have misread the actor's mood. The team debated issuing a public statement but chose to wait and monitor public reaction, hoping the controversy would die down. By the next morning, the incident dominated entertainment news. Commentators analyzed every detail, some supporting Pitt's demand for respect, others defending Kimmel's comedic approach. Clips continued to circulate, garnering millions of views. The fallout extended beyond the studio. Pitt's fans rallied online, praising his dedication to his craft over tabloid drama. His film experienced a boost in ticket sales, with many attributing it to the renewed spotlight on his work. Critics and rival hosts mocked Pitt, suggesting he couldn't handle light teasing. The episode sparked wider debate about balancing entertainment with respect in celebrity interviews. Kimmel's show faced scrutiny as viewers questioned whether its format needed updating. Though the night ended, the consequences were ongoing, setting the stage for a reckoning. Brad Pitt's walkout on Jimmy Kimmel Live became a cultural flashpoint, dominating headlines and online discussions. Kimmel's team acted swiftly to control the damage. The day after, producers released a brief statement affirming the show's respect for guests and its goal to entertain, avoiding direct mention of Pitt to prevent further escalation. In his next monologue, Kimmel briefly and lightly addressed the incident. He joked that some stars take their films more seriously than his questions, earning laughs. He wished Pitt well but stopped short of apologizing. The audience response was supportive, signaling the show's ability to move forward. However, social media remained divided, with heated debates about who was at fault. Pitt stayed out of the spotlight, avoiding social media and interviews. Those close to him said he was unfazed by criticism but frustrated the focus remained on the dispute rather than his film. His team intensified promotion, releasing trailers and interviews highlighting his producer role. Fans flooded online spaces with support, calling Pitt a genuine artist who refused to engage in gossip. Clips of his speech about respecting his craft kept gaining attention, amassing tens of millions of views. However, critics were less kind, with some late-night hosts joking that Pitt had blown a harmless question out of proportion. This divide in opinion sparked a larger conversation about celebrity interviews and the boundaries of media. The incident left lasting impacts on both sides. For Kimmel, it marked a rare mistake in a career known for skillfully managing high-profile guests. Some praised his calmness, while others felt he pushed too far into personal territory. Despite the controversy, the show's ratings stayed strong. Yet, the episode became an example of how hosts handle delicate interviews. Producers reportedly improved their pre-show procedures to ensure clearer communication about expectations with guests. For Pitt, the moment was both a challenge and an advantage. His stance struck a chord with fans and helped his film break box office records, with some attributing the controversy to the boost. Critics, however, used his walkout to portray him as distant and unable to take criticism. Still, the film's success spoke volumes, earning praise from critics and generating Oscar buzz. The clash led to broader discussions about the direction of talk shows. Analysts debated whether hosts should move away from sensationalism toward more meaningful conversations, while others argued celebrities like Pitt should be ready for light teasing as part of the experience. The incident became a case study often referenced in media panels and articles exploring the evolving relationship between stars and journalists. Pitt's team declined an invitation to return to Kimmel's show, choosing instead platforms that matched his focus on his work. Meanwhile, Kimmel's show embraced the buzz, teasing upcoming celebrity segments to keep the audience interested. That night's story remains a striking example of conflicting expectations. Pitt's exit was more than defiance, it was a call for respect in an industry driven by headlines. Caught off guard, Kimmel faced the challenges of adapting his style in a shifting media landscape. That's the story. What are your thoughts? Drop a comment below and let me know. Subscribe for more stories like this, and I'll see you next time.